what people don't get that is missing in the canon material that was apparent in the legends is that Thrawn is an extremely good general. I mean, he's taken on Rebel Alliance generals and beat them. He's beaten Admiral Akbar in battle.
What up, everybody?
Yeah, hey everybody, you're watching the Nerdgasm podcast. I don't get Superman. For me, Superman's worse. And I'm not talking about in this movie or in the.
Is Appa the Chewie of the Avatar group?
Yes, he is!
Okay, I'll behave. I'll behave. Okay. Hey guys, this is the Nerdgasm podcast. We're discussing kung fu movies, and if you're gonna ask yourself what do kung fu movies have to do with anime and animation, then time for a history lesson. One gave birth to the other. Simple, simple and short. So we are gonna be discussing our love for all these awesome kung fu movies. Oh, and I also want to say, I'd like to give you thanks for all the wonderful views you had about all the Gandhi work and all the Samurai Jack and Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Laboratory. It's been a wonderful trip. I hope you're going to enjoy the next stages that we're going through. The things that I'm thinking we should change up a little. I want to see if I can read anime related Reddit stories so that we can also do some reactions to that. Something fun, you know? We are a light, casual, if not hyper passionate podcast, and that's what it's about. So yeah, welcome. I hope you're gonna enjoy the next few hours. I hope that I'll say the next few hours because we all know, even though I'll try and be disciplined and say we'll only keep it to a certain length, I'm lying to you all. So welcome. I hope you enjoy the ride. We're gonna talk about our kung fu movies, but first, as before, disclaimer time. We at Hala Corporation are in full support of the writer's strike
And actors.
and actors.
And apparently producers.
And we are by no means endorsing or are endorsed by the host company of the product that we're about to discuss now, aka Ahsoka. Neither are we going to say we are using this as an employee to encourage you to go consume the content. We are simply passionate about Star Wars, and we're going to take this moment to discuss it. Disclaimer over. Let's talk about it. Who wants to start first?
Oh, also LBFX artists.
Oh yeah, that everyone's on. Just pay the people.
Look, everyone
working there. That
and
building is empty. Next thing the janitors are going to be on strike.
What are true?
Okay, Ahsoka. Have we all watched this?
Yeah, I just checked it out.
No Sabine. This is for me. This is my analysis of the episode. I think it's, to contrary belief, I think it's the best episode of the season. I do think on a surface level, they fixed some problems. Number one, giving Ahsoka the shine that she needed. However, the shine that they gave to her was a bit late because now all of a sudden Ahsoka has a character flaw and now she has problems in her life that she needs to solve in order to solve the issue of the arc. I thought was a bit shoehorned in. That's what they were trying to say. They were trying to basically shoehorn this whole thing of she has to deal with her relationship between life and death and her baggage with Anakin in order for her to progress in life. However, that was all shoehorned in this episode, which I felt was lacking in the other episodes. Visually, I think the show also steps up its game. I don't think it was particularly bad, but I think visually this is the best the show has looked. I think Ahsoka's acting was also better. I think Hayden Christensen, unfortunately for him, brought in the best performance he's done for Anakin. That side of Anakin. It's hard to say because he didn't have that much time. But I felt like, this was the Anakin. I think, I don't want to disrespect him, but this was kudos to him for his performance in this turnaround. And that's the good things I can say about the episode. The rest is empty. Empty. I don't care about everybody else. I just don't care. Why is your child there? Take your child home. Why is he? I don't care.
Do you guys think that there should be an Anakin series? Maybe
No,
where you
The whole Jack,
no.
there's
We
a meme about that. There's a meme about that where Anakin is like, I want a spin-off, and then Obi-Wan is like, Anakin, the entire series is about
it's
you.
about you. Yeah.
We don't. Here's the thing that I have an issue with Star Wars. Okay, first off, just talking about Ahsoka for a second. I like the concept of this episode. I really do. But I think the director is just like, I don't know how who's directing this or whoever directed this episode. You need to let your actors act. You need to let these people emote. I'm tired of this stoic Jedi. No. Like the reason you remember, I was about to say Yoda one. The reason you remember Obi-Wan is because Obi-Wan had a lot of emotion in those prequel trilogy. There's a lot of stuff you get from him. Like even Mace had personality. Yoda had personality because of the way he was speaking and all of that stuff in his design. Yeah, I mean even Qui-Gon to some extent. And I know everybody hates Jar Jar, but you remember Jar Jar. I say Jar Jar, you can think of some lines, right? One of the issues that is prevalent in this new spate of Star Wars trilogies is that they're trying to lean into this thing of every Jedi being so detached from situations. And it's just like, that's boring. It's very boring to watch. I think
that's a Dave Filoni problem. I think he specifically writes them that way.
Yeah.
From Clone Wars to this.
It's boring.
I'm going to summarize it. There are quotes we remember from the prequel movies. There are quotes we remember in the original trilogies. What is the catch? What's the quotable line that you can think of in Ahsoka right now?
You two need to stick together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I told them. Then we have crying robot. I told them to stay together.
I don't know. That robot has the most personality out of everybody.
Yeah.
I must say, bro, you called it. Like you called it. The whole whale thing. I'm like, Tebello saw this coming, and it is exactly what happened.
My thing is, I don't care about contrivances because it's fiction. You have to get your characters from A to B. Just give me something with them. Like this thing with Anakin, it was so hyped up on social media, right? And it's supposed to be a big deal. Like it was a big deal.
I think I'm gonna put a picture of the fans worshiping Dave Filoni. That they keep putting up every single episode, and I'm thinking, guys.
And I know that Pillar was saying that what's this Hayden Christensen turned in a great performance, which he did. I think that's
I said I think he turned in his best performance.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a great performance though. Like I think I would have preferred that Anakin if we got him in the prequel trilogy. That would have been a lot of fun. But like what I'm saying is one of my issues with Ahsoka, and like it's starting to be a problem for me because it wasn't a problem in like the first 3 episodes because I was like, okay, maybe this is just every Tuesday for her. Every Tuesday she's got to fight down a thing. Every Tuesday she hears about Thrawn. Every Tuesday she's got to slice a robot. Okay, fine, this is business as usual. You're seeing Anakin, and people were making a big deal about this. Like this is a very, very big deal, right? And last time you saw Anakin in one of the times, you were pulled out of the timeline from the future or whatever, and you were fighting him as Vader in a big temple that almost blew up. And like in the series from the clips that I saw, because I watched some clips of that fight, she looks heartbroken that this dude was Vader, right?
Yeah.
Why are we not seeing you break down even just a little bit? Like, why are we not seeing any cracks in the armor at all?
Are you talking about Anakin?
No, I'm talking about Ahsoka.
Oh, Ahsoka.
About like Ahsoka.
Even an apology would be nice. Hey, remember when I was like fucking killing everybody for the last 6 movies? I'm sorry about that.
But that's why it was like, is this what that's about? Like you remember when they were talking, and then she said she alluded to him being Vader, and then he's like, is this what it's about? And then all of a sudden he changes, like, you know what, you didn't learn anything. We need to start again from scratch and whatever. I think I think, sometimes with family members, nah, if there's a black sheep in the family or something, you love them, and you guys don't necessarily address the elephant in the room because you respect the person. Let's say the person is your older
No, but
brother
the
or your
elephant
uncle.
is so big though.
No, this
The elephant
elephant
is
tried to
like
kill
That's
me.
not an
We have to
elephant.
talk
That's one of
about
those
it.
space whales.
No, what I'm trying to say is, I think the way she respects him as the master, she doesn't want to confront him.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from her
yeah.
perspective. I'm not saying
But
that
okay,
she shouldn't have she shouldn't have confronted him. I'm just trying to see it from her point of view.
I see
let
what
me
you're
let me
saying. Okay, sorry,
let
go
me
ahead.
let me just give what I think. And keyword is think. Don't come at me. I'm giving an opinion. All right. What I think is that her training with Anakin was her building up the thing to eventually confront the elephant in the room. Because as you can see, Becky, it starts off with her being a kid, then she's
Right.
fighting in Mandalore, and I don't know how on earth is that lightsaber connecting with that killing all those Mandalorians suddenly. I thought Beskar armor was always a thing, but we'll get back to that. And then she eventually calls him out and says that you are dangerous, and I think that's her coming to terms with the fact that she needs to confront with the fact that you became what you became, and that she had to fight it. She had to take him on, and it alludes to the the current bad guy is. I forgot his name. The one who passed away. What's his name?
What, Thrawn?
Ray
No, no.
Oh,
Stevenson.
Ray Winston's
Oh, Ray.
character.
The
Oh, Balon. What?
Yeah, the Jedi Master who's fallen. Yes, him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he said to Ahsoka is your legacy will always be of death. And
Mm.
now we are coming to the point where she's confronting that inside herself. That's why she even when she ended up taking Vader's lightsaber, you could see her eyes turned yellow, and she chose to live, which is like she chose the light side of the Force. That's what I'm trying to. That's how I'm trying to make sense of it. Because to be honest, it didn't make sense.
But I don't feel like she has an issue with her legacy. Or like maybe they're
Yeah,
writing it on the screen,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
not picking that up as
Mm,
like that's what's hindering
I
her
think, but that's what I'm
on the
saying is
mission.
that, like, in
I,
this thing, it, like, the thing is with stoic characters, right? I find that that's fine, but there has to be some, like, perfect example. We spoke about it at length. Samurai Jack. That's one of the most stoic characters that you've ever seen. But there are episodes where he gets fed up. There are
Yeah.
episodes where he gets emotional. There are episodes where
where he
Aku gets to him.
smiles.
There's episodes where Aku gets
Mm.
to him. Like that whole, who else wants some? And
Yes.
like
Mm.
that one time when he was climbing the mountain and you literally hear him just say, "It is impossible," and
Mm.
your
And
heart just sinks. And then those monks come out of the shadows and they're like, "Did you forget your mission?"
yes.
And he
Mm.
What?
finishes climbing the thing because like that mountain represented the mountain of a task that he had to
Yeah.
accomplish. Now we get to Ahsoka. I understand she's a Jedi, but if this is the person that caused a huge emotional upheaval and turbulence because they had such a great relationship in the beginning, I want to see that emotional range, and I know Rosario Dawson has it.
Yes.
So
And
who's writing this?
I wanted to see the fact that the both of them made the decision to leave the Jedi Order in different ways, but they both were right in some point in time. Where is
Yeah.
that mutual standpoint? Where is the we agree here, but I don't agree there? Where's the emotional payoff? It
But
was
that's
just
the
Guys,
thing. They
I hear
weren't
you
think.
guys, nah? Oh,
mm,
sorry. I
no
hear
go
you
ahead.
guys. I hear you guys, but like I'm saying, guys, when you have like an older brother or sister or an
Yeah,
uncle or whatever, there's a lot of things that you want to say, but you don't say out of
Yeah.
it's
what we consider respect. Even
yeah.
though,
Also, you don't want to make a scene. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They're in the
that's why.
afterlife.
That's
Nobody's
why
there to judge them.
if you were to look at some scenes, she's quiet and she's observant, and Anakin is the one asking her, "What's wrong? You
Mm.
know, what's the problem?" And instead of her actually addressing the elephant in the room, she just, I don't know, maybe talk about
Yeah,
other things like I killed all these people or whatever. Then Anakin is answering her based on what she's saying, even though she's not really saying what she's supposed to say, if that makes
yeah.
sense. Because Anakin is like, no, you're a Jedi, or you're supposed to be a master. You're a warrior. There will be
And
casualties. You'll make mistakes.
and there are very important questions to ask, like, is that it? Am I being trained to become a soldier?
Right.
But
What
also, what's the point of all these questions? Because I feel like the Ahsoka that we have now in present time has resolved these issues. I feel like she knows exactly who she is, where she fits in the universe. I feel like she doesn't really need to have these conversations with Anakin to figure out where she is and what she needs to do with her life. Like for me, like I felt like when I was watching the flashbacks or in time flashbacks or whatever, I was like, what's the point of this? What
yeah,
there's
what
no character growth in this. And
there's no
then the
character.
cynic in me unfortunately started thinking like, oh, of course, this is just Star Wars Easter egg fan base clickbait bullshit all
I thought you
over
were
again.
about to say
I
the
don't
other,
know.
I thought
Oh,
you were going
sorry,
to say the
sorry.
other N word.
Oh, what nonsense.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this is
That's
Uh,
that.
all it was.
Here's what I'll say to that. I feel like Baylor. Why am I forgetting? What is it? Baylor Skull or something like that? Why am I forgetting it? Or whatever.
Because is
Um,
that forgettable of a villain?
I mean, the
He's
Ray.
alright.
Okay, Ray Stevenson's performance is really dope. I think maybe
Yeah.
the character's underutilized, but Ray Stevenson is really good. R.I.P. Ray Stevenson. But anyway,
Rest in peace. Yeah.
getting back to that, I think
Baylan, Baylan, Baylan's call.
there we go. Balon Skull. I think Balon Skull shook her because remember, like when we kind of find her, she's kind of. I guess Ahsoka right now is aimless in a sense. I guess that's what this series is trying to portray. So and also she apparently has a habit of running away, even though the show doesn't show the
Yes.
consequences of that.
Also,
Like
did
I
he
feel
shake
like
her? You say she was shook, but was she shook?
I
I mean,
feel
the
like
only
she
reason why
was
she
in a
lost,
sense
the only
because
reason why she lost that fight was because she grabbed that thing, burnt her hand, and then he pushed her off the cliff. It
yeah,
wasn't
but
like she's
what
froze.
what I'm saying though, I guess in a sense, is because remember Anakin was one of the most emotional Jedi ever to exist. So I feel like
Right.
in his training, he didn't train somebody to have like a proper equilibrium. Because
Ah.
If Ahsoka compartmentalized, she could have won that fight no problem. But
Right.
instead, she's like, I have to get this map. I have to
I,
get this map.
I get you, but I think she did what she's playing at. She played it to the extreme.
But
Like
guys, also,
like she's
okay.
like you are saying, she's playing a stoic character, and we don't see her break, and we don't see that thing. And I think because she saw Anakin go crazy with his emotions, she's decided to basically suppress her own feelings that she doesn't
Build the
shake, and
walls.
that led her to her
But
defeat.
this is why I feel like this is nonsense. Any clear show that we've ever watched, any good movie that we've watched, makes character flaws abundantly clear. It makes the character goals abundantly clear. The fact that we have to guess and be like, oh no, maybe Ahsoka's flaw is this, or maybe Ahsoka's blah 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 is that,
Mm.
is a failure on the show, and it's
Okay,
unacceptable.
I think there's two things that I want to say. One, usually in those movies that are great or shows that are great like that, there's usually someone that is making commentary about a character like that. Ah, she's moody today. What's the problem? Or whatever. And then someone says, ever since Anakin has, if
Oh,
for
Yeah, no,
Krillin,
there's
exposition,
you
there's
need
no
a Krillin.
right?
exposition.
There's no exposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ne? And then the other thing that I wanted to say is, I genuinely think that after Anakin turned and became who he became, Ahsoka felt lost. She didn't know because remember he didn't finish her training,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like she felt lost. She probably had trust issues. Hearing news that your master is busy killing people and there's a Death Star, planets are dying, like it could throw you completely off, especially if you spent so many years with this person, whether it's the Clone Wars, whether it's this and that.
Yeah.
You shared meals with this person. This person has protected you from so many things, and you're hearing the complete opposite of who you know, who you've known your whole life. Maybe not your whole life, but for the longest time. It can completely make you second guess yourself. Your sense of being, your purpose, who you are as a person. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I think she
No,
was thrown off. She was
I
thrown
get that,
off.
but what I'm saying though is my big criticism of that is that needed to show in the performance and in the
Yeah.
dialogue and
Yes,
in the writing.
We are
I
we are
like the
giving
reason
we
the
agree.
reason why it feels forced, like, and I'm not going to speak for you, Pillar, but I'm saying the reason why I can see somebody feeling like this is shoehorned in is because they're not writing this dialogue like those events were that heavy. Like
No.
Ahsoka just reacts to Anakin like it's just another thing happening in her life.
Yeah,
And it's just like
Right.
I would have like when I was watching it, I was like, I know Rosario's more capable as an actor. You can't tell me
absolutely.
this makeup
No,
is
she's
impairing her
awesome.
performance.
Mm.
She's
Just
amazing.
just have her do something. Have her be like, what the hell is this? Have her be a little bit surprised when Anakin is throwing the lightsaber at her. Have her be like, what the hell are you doing? And when they have that confrontation and she's like, you're dangerous, have her get in his face a little bit. Have her feel a little bit
Yeah,
betrayed. Like, I trusted you. You were my master. You taught me all of these things about the Jedi, and we were supposed to be the good guys. And then, as Tebello said, bring up that fact that you separated from the Jedi, but then
Right.
also bring up the fact that the way you did it was horrible and mass
Mm.
murderous. And
Right.
the way I did it is maybe I was a little bit cowardly, but I just left. Like, I don't know. I just
And
felt like there was no emotional weight to their meetup at all. And it was just there to be like the Anakin fanboys can be like, yeah, Anakin's back.
yeah.
And
And
it's just
also
like,
the
I
idea
also
of Ahsoka being, I don't know, I keep going back to it. Like, I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself, but just the idea of Ahsoka having this great flaw to solve the problem that she has now. I'm like, yes, I know you maybe as a viewer you may think she looks lost. I mean, we all joke like, where the hell was she when the Empire was ruling? But I mean, the
yeah,
show, but they
yeah.
all allude to the fact that she was with the rebels. She was trying to help
Doing
take down
what?
Thrawn. That's what I mean. She looked like she was. That was her mission. That's what she decided to do. She got her own crew. They were gonna go and do that, and she doesn't seem like she's lost. I mean, I've never heard her in the show any regret for any of her actions in the past. She's never been like, "Oh damn, I wish I helped you guys when Anakin was wilding." Oh man, I
Yeah,
wish you know what I mean. Or nobody even treats her like that. No one even like, where were you when the Lord
yeah.
needed you?
yes.
but
So
like
I don't
I
see.
With
guess to
also
Extrodin's point. So, sorry, you wanted to go.
no 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 say some.
I'm saying
I'll speak
I
after.
guess to Extrodin's point, like that was maybe the respect thing, but that's what I'm saying is when it comes to the character, like exposition is one way to do it, but another way to do it is through emotion and acting. Even
Mm,
if we can see her fighting her emotions, like even if we could see her like some physical change in her face or in her body posture or where she's like trying to recline away from this guy but she doesn't know how to feel, we can see that contradiction in like body language where she doesn't know if she's coming or going.
Yeah.
And when she was busy fighting Thrawn, maybe there was because Star Wars they're terrible at communication. Maybe she didn't even know that Vader was a thing. Because I mean that was the thing. Everybody was calling him Vader. No one knew he was Anakin except for
mm,
Obi-Wan. So
Yeah.
maybe she's just hearing, oh, it's just another guy. He's just like Thrawn, whatever, whatever. That's why when you get to that temple and she sees that it's Anakin and
mm,
whatever, she has that big panic attack. So
mm,
I feel like they should have taken that forward into this episode, especially if you're trying to entice people who don't know who Ahsoka is to
mm.
get to know her. Because remember,
Yeah.
there's so much stuff. Star
Yeah.
Wars is
I
huge.
think I
Mm.
think also they could have played. Look, they could have played on a lot of things. Like we could have had like moments where she has nightmares about maybe
Yeah.
leaving Anakin or whatever, or seeing Anakin turn or something. Also, Ezra's disappearance, because they keep talking about Ezra every episode, right?
You know.
That also could have also been a trigger, to say I've lost Anakin. I'm not gonna lose. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but there
Yeah.
should
Mm.
have been sort of like a story beat that makes us feel for her. The fact that she doesn't want to lose people like before. That's why she's so. How can I put it? That's why she's so focused on trying to get Sabine back into like trying to help Sabine so that she can protect herself when she's not around. I don't know, but there could have been like many reasons
Well,
for her
guys, we
actions.
will go on about theories about how we could have made this episode better until Jesus comes back.
Right.
Because the fact is, there's a lot that could have been worked on because we have a perspective that is different from everyone else. I mean, I understand how the fan base is loved this episode because it played to the Disney nostalgia to the 11th degree. We got to see young Ahsoka, we got to see Anakin, and we got a hint of sort of kind of cool fight choreography that's still too slow. But
They need to get those people from the
I
prequels.
mean, I
No, but
think
it
I don't
was
know
way
if I said
better though. It
I
was
don't
way
know if I
better.
said it to you, but I think I've said it to Mina before. The
Mm,
deleted scene between Anakin and Count Dooku, you see the pace in that fight, and I think
mm,
I keep on saying we were robbed.
mm.
Guys,
You know,
it's
you know,
Anakin, and it's Anakin
you
from
know,
that ship,
Yeah,
you know
and
what
it's
I've
peak
what
noticed.
Anakin.
You know what I've noticed when I saw that fight sequence, no?
yeah.
Anakin was way better at fighting than Ahsoka. It was so weird. You could tell that Hayden Christensen has a lot of experience
Yeah,
than
Yeah,
Rosario
yeah.
Dawson. It was so evident. It was so
Mm.
evident.
like I've got,
Yeah.
you've got nothing to teach me. It's like you've got a lot to learn, little one. It's like obvious.
In
When
summary,
you
I feel like right now that episode in this show is, if I can make an analogy, it's like a cake with 5 extra layers of icing. It's
yeah,
there's
it's a pretty
pretty,
designed
it's
cake, but
very
there's no
pretty,
substance.
but when you take a bite, there's nothing in it.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
that's
but
Well,
my
I mean, for me, I feel like that's been most of the show, and I feel like it's just the writers.
yeah.
Like, I'm getting that same syndrome that I got from Captain
like
Marvel for a second. Like,
yeah,
where,
Mm.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Tebello.
it's like you're thinking were these guys on strike before
Maybe.
this thing came out? Because I'm so sorry. Where's the depth? It's so shallow.
Because
Mm.
also, like, can we talk about? And I've been meaning to talk about her. Okay, Lady Elizabeth Winstead. I love her. Like, guys, I love this
Yeah.
woman wholeheartedly. Like, you guys have no idea when she's in Scott Pilgrim versus the World as Ramona, she's amazing. But in this series, I
Oh my
feel
god!
nothing for
Now
her,
I
bro.
see her.
Nothing, dude.
I feel
Wait, she's
nothing
the
for her.
general.
She's
Yeah,
the
she's the
general.
general.
With a
And funny
kid
Is
enough,
that the general?
that's the general. And
who
funny
brings your
enough,
child to
What the
battle.
hell?
funny enough, I've only discovered this week that she's actually married to Ewan McGregor.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Hakim.
And I guess fans were like, is this nepotism? That she's getting this role?
No,
Okay,
girl
okay.
can act. Everyone who's seen Scott Pilgrim knows
And
that
she's
that
a
woman can play.
star.
No, and
Yeah, she's the
also,
star.
like, what do you think y'all are gonna do when you start getting jobs in major movie productions? You're not gonna holler at your friends or your girlfriend? Like, do you
Yeah.
know how much trouble Ewan would be in if he didn't even try to get her a job at Star Wars and she's an actress? You know how big of a fight that is?
I mean, we
That's
can all look at
that's
the
up to them.
disastrous movie that's going to come out, which why do I call it the fish people again?
Aquaman.
Aquaman.
Uh,
Did you guys watch the trailer?
No.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen it. I'm not really interested in anything like in productions right now,
I was
personally.
like, I just saw okay, he's there, and you know, it's also the fact that it's part of a dying universe. They're going to
Hmm.
basically restart their own
Yeah.
universe all over
What's the
again. So it's like,
point?
what is
What's
the
the
Yeah.
point?
point?
Warner
Yeah,
Brothers,
yeah.
save your money.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, like, just getting back to Ahsoka for a second, I just feel like, and also the general, because it's the same problem. Like, the reason why, so, like, people will probably latch on to Sabine, newer viewers, and all of that stuff, is because they're telling that actress to do things with her face. When it comes to the general and it comes to Ahsoka,
Yeah,
like,
let's face it. The general's only emotion is this.
Mm.
and I'm saying I don't know why. I'm just like,
At
this
least
is the
you're
thing.
seeing something. I
When
don't
people
see
say we
anything.
have when people say we have problems with female characters, I'm saying it's not. It's the gender is the last issue. I promise you.
Mm.
If we can
Yeah.
go, there's some action movies where dudes with like Shoot 'em Up is a perfect example with Clive. I think it's Clive Owen or whatever. That dude has one face that entire movie. The only time you see him do anything within his face is
Mm.
at the end, where somehow plot decides that he's now vulnerable and he's gonna get
Right.
shot. And then he has one face which is and then he goes back to what he was doing before. Transporter. Like the other transporter, the last one where they recast the guy or whatever, and thingy, like that guy was bland, and people criticize that thing for being bland. A bland character doesn't help anybody. And I
Right.
know they're trying to portray this general as she's decisive, she makes decisions, and yada 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 yada. But let these actors emote. The reason why Ray Stevenson is kicking everybody's ass right now, R.I.P. Ray Stevenson, is because his character is doing things with his face.
But at the same time, I respect his performance. Don't get me wrong. I have issues with the character. Like, what on earth is his motive?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think they're
the big mystery
obscuring it
box.
for a reason, and
Yeah.
I can see that they're trying to lead into something with that. Whereas when it comes to Ahsoka, we're still asking what is it do you want? Do you want Thrawn? Do you want Ezra? Is the whole point to stop Thrawn from coming back? What and is
Yeah,
it the
because
same
I would have
Sabine?
loved if the flashback was, "What do you want, Ahsoka? Who
That's what
are
I'm saying.
you?"
These writers, did they
Mm.
quit? Is this the AI writing? Because if this is the AI writing, writers
I've
have
asked the
nothing.
same. I've
AI
asked the same
writers have
question.
nothing to worry about. You know,
Yeah,
your
No, it's
jobs are
Dave.
safe.
you're secure for a
It's
generation at
Dave
least.
Filoni, and that's also been my problem with many of his shows, like The Bad Batch and all these things. Like they all feel very Star Wars gimmicky. Like they all feel like they do really well on surface level, but then when it comes to the essentials of writing characters and events, it just feels very hollow. And then like, but what do you guys think? Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think from the Star Wars internet news, I believe this show is supposed to set up a movie that concludes The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, where they all team up together. So I don't even think we
Okay.
get Thrawn, to be honest. He's probably going to appear in the last episode, and then he'll be the big bad of the movie that concludes the entire thing.
But there's
So,
also news that Lando is going to be a movie. So
well, I think Lando. I don't know what timeline Lando takes place. Is that
Yeah, that's the
technically
other thing. Yeah.
before the
oh
Empire
yeah,
falls?
It
oh
has to be
yes, you're
before the
right.
Empire. It has to be before the Empire falls, unless they want to go into his lost years or whatever. I don't know.
And the
Yeah.
No,
Millennium
it's the
Falcon is over there.
it's the early years because it's still it's going to be played by Donald Glover. I think.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I don't think Lando will connect. But what do you guys think? I'm assuming that's what's
If that's the
from the
end
news
goal,
I've read. Yeah.
if that's the end goal, he's playing. He basically is playing an what you call it,
MCU
Avengers. Yeah.
MCU.
phase
Which
Yeah,
one.
I mean, again, one, Ahsoka can already body the both of them. Like she doesn't need the Mandalorian or Boba Fett, especially the Boba Fett that we
Yeah.
got.
Or maybe
Like,
Luke will team up with them. I'm
yeah.
assuming.
I don't know if they're gonna
Well,
do
you
that
know,
again.
there are books where
Yeah.
Thrawn confronts Luke, and it's like a cat and mouse game. You can see that Luke outsmarts him because of technical issues with his ship and all these things. It's a nice read. So yeah, maybe we get to see more of the Luke that we grew up and loved.
I
Maybe
don't know
Speaking of,
Yeah.
because Mark Hamill says that they need to recast him. He's come out
Mm.
publicly and he's just like, get someone else.
I'm old and
Don't,
tired.
yeah, don't, and yes, I don't know why studios are so averse to recasting. Like, I
Mm.
like Sebastian Stan, Winter
I was gonna
Soldier.
say
He's right
he
there.
Yeah, he does
Do
he looks
that.
exactly like yeah. But I wanted to say I watched an episode of Observations. I'll send you guys a link.
Yeah.
And one of the hosts by Observations, he said that he doesn't really understand why Thrawn is actually a villain. He says that at most, and you guys can correct me or correct him. At most, Thrawn, you could say, is maybe an anti-hero, but he's not necessarily a villain. Like, what is it that was so bad that he has done in honor of
It's
the law
a-
that makes
a-
him a villain?
in accordance to canon, I could get what you're saying because
Okay.
in the canon law, even in some legends law, he you could get a vibe of an anti-villain. But here's the thing about Thrawn. Thrawn loves order. The only reason he sided with the Empire is because it's the best way he believes to instill order in a chaotic universe.
Right.
So what makes him dangerous is basically like he's like the Sauron of the when it comes to mentality, not power. He's like the Sauron of this universe. He you will side with with the side that will bring order to this chaotic universe. So that's why he uses talents for the Empire, because with the Empire, if the Empire is stable and is doing what it thinks it's supposed to do, then there is order throughout the universe, and that's what he cares about, and that's his motives. He's like a perfectionist to the extreme, and that's the villain we see in him. It's
Yeah.
not really that well translated in the canon material.
Mm.
Well, I don't know. They did some of that stuff apparently in the shows, in the
Yeah,
Disney, in those cartoon shows or whatever, Rebels or
yeah,
whatever,
mm,
where it's showing that he's torturing people. It's showing that he's like dead. Like, he ordered like a genocide of some sort or
yeah. He
something.
wipes out times. He
He,
targets the city. Yeah, the things that show that he's an emotionless clinical supervillain. Yes, but
Okay.
what people don't get that is missing in the canon material that was apparent in the legends is that Thrawn is an extremely good general. I mean, he's taken on Rebel Alliance generals and beat them. He's beaten Admiral Akbar in battle. Not like, when there are like two rebel. That's the thing about being an admiral. You need to be able to command vast fleets into battle and think three-dimensionally and come out on top. And he
Mm.
does that repeatedly. There are very few cases. I think there was only one book where he eventually got murdered by his own second in command, where he lost a battle outright. And it had to be a combination of Luke, Admiral Akbar, and a few other characters that had to band together to take him on. So he is in Legends. He is the Ash.
Mm.
We don't see that here because he never got. We saw him outsmart the general when she was trying to lead that rescue mission into the surface of the planet, and like surprise the Monster Destroyers and underneath those clouds, and you just see all those ships burning down. We got to see that, but we never got to see that he is a legitimate, extremely dangerous character who can take on the Rebel Alliance and win.
Do you think?
So wait. Okay.
Wait. Go ahead. Don't worry.
Sorry. Because mine is gonna be a bit off tangent, but do you guys think that Palpatine is watching everything and he's just because he's alive, right?
Yes,
Because
of course,
this is
somehow he
after.
survived. I
Yeah,
think
someone survived.
right now he's still in his regeneration tube.
yeah.
Okay.
Man, Palpatine.
So here's my question: like, do you guys think if Thrawn, I guess he'll be teased at the end of the show, and he'll be teased as the big bad of what I think the next project will be. Assuming it's a movie, do you think that would galvanize Star Wars people to actually buy a ticket? Do you think that's what's gonna get people
No,
to
I don't think so.
movie?
I don't think so. I think because remember they dropped the ball on Boba Fett hard.
Yeah.
Mandalorian season 3 apparently also is not that well received. I haven't checked out all of it,
Yes.
and apparently they did some stuff where they were veering left with the character and
Oh
the
yeah,
story
sorry.
and
I said
everything.
Bo-Katan will be part of that super team. Yeah.
I mean, Bo-Katan. You know, people also have issues with Bo-Katan as well.
Let me I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian, or rather use my strategic mind and say there's only one condition where people will be able to flock then. And
If you
it's
kill an important character,
not just kill an important character. We need to see Thrawn outright win like a major engagement.
He'll probably win
Oh.
the fight that happens at the end of the series.
Yeah,
like
no,
Thanos.
but that would be like
Mm.
not like it shouldn't be like in the alternate universe, in the alternate galaxy. Like when he comes back, and then the other generals, the other warlords fall in line immediately, and then you just see this fleet form up, and then the Rebel Alliance says, "Okay, we need to take him on." We have this semi like climatic battle or something, and he thrashes them.
Mm.
And it ends at that cliffhanger of, oh no, like Endgame. Yeah, if we
Yeah.
have Endgame,
He Thanos them.
Yeah.
Basically.
if he Thanos them, then people will run to that movie. That's the only
Or,
But Tebello, like the problem
or,
is
or he
though.
can
Oh, sorry.
them. Sorry, he
Yeah.
can Dooku's them.
Mm.
To be,
Yeah.
But then the problem becomes that you're there for the villain. You're not there for the like. There needs to like the reason why we were so invested in Infinity War is because we like everybody that's there for the most
yes,
part.
yes,
Mm.
yes.
Now we get to Ahsoka and we get to like the Mandalorian, which was cool, until they started doing what they're doing. And we get to Boba Fett, which they screwed Boba Fett
Mm.
like
Yes.
so hard, unnecessarily so. It's just like, is this the guys? Like, if he does that and he thrashes them, we're supposed to look at these three characters where it's like, yeah, Ahsoka's got skills, but do I really care about her?
No,
And do I
look,
really
look,
want to
not
watch?
not like thrashes them, not thrashes those three characters, right? Not
No,
like
I'm
he
not talking
thrashes.
about the three characters. I'm
Yeah,
saying like
uh,
he thrashes the Rebel Alliance fleet or
yes,
whatever in a
yes,
big battle. Great.
yes,
Now the people who have to sort out this monster is Ahsoka, Boba Fett, and the Mandalorian. It's just
and
Yeah.
Can I?
it will also be Ezra and like I said, it'll have to it, and then the other part will be they'll have to include Luke will somehow have to come out of the
Mm.
woodwork. Ezra needs to come out of hiding. For some reason, Ezra was going and Ezra's going to meet Grogu and something like that. They're going to have this cute little cameo moment.
Mm.
We're going to have that kid, that uh, the general's kid.
well, Jason, he's
What's his?
gonna pick up a lightsaber.
Yeah, he's going to pick.
Yeah.
He's going to not just any lightsaber. He's going to pick up his father's lightsaber. I'm a Jedi like my father
Mm.
before me. Cliche, but that's what I also see is going to be happening. Those a whole lot of fan service has got to happen.
But I agree with
But
you though. I feel like it's a hard push to sell those characters as
It's
heroes for a
hard,
movie series
but
that we want to watch. That's
but
hard. That's
but
a hard
let's
sell.
Can I
but
just say
let's also
something?
think. Look at what Dave Filoni is doing right now, right? This is my like I said, I'm not trying to start a debate. That's your job today.
Mm.
I'm just trying to give you an attentive thought. All right, like Dave Filoni is doing what Disney wants in that he's curating a product. He's not creating a story.
Mm,
but
None
the,
of
Mm.
none of look at the Mandalorian. Look at Boba Fett. In fact, look at all these things. Are they? Can you all honestly say we can go sit back down and go binge watch the whole of Mandalorian right now?
season one
Season
and
one and
season
two.
two, I can.
Okay.
If there was a movie for Mandalorian after season two, I guarantee you the
Yeah,
hype
I
would be there.
think.
Season three killed
right,
the momentum so much that
right.
I mean now I'm even asking, would anyone pay to go watch Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like
The
I'm saying
So,
that stuff with the men, like, oh, sorry, Mr. Extrodin.
oh,
You,
I just wanted to say that we have recently discovered, not really recently discovered, but it's been brought to my attention that the three biggest movies of the year are not sequels of any sort, of any kind.
yes.
True.
Right? Barbie, number one, I think. Super
Mm.
Mario, number two. I think Oppenheimer is
Mm.
number three.
I think Oppenheimer's
mm,
3, yeah.
So I think what this shows you
Disney is not
uh,
on that list at all.
regarding the
And
audience,
I haven't
yes,
seen any of
because
them.
Guardians of the Galaxy came out, but it didn't really do well. I believe that DC is hoping to get the same box office returns, or rather the same, I guess, amount at
Mm.
the box office because they are releasing in December, which is always a good month to release a movie. But I don't think it's gonna happen this year. Yes, Aquaman
It's
is the
it's
highest
not going to
grossing
happen
film in
for
the
two major
DCEU.
reasons. DC needs a backbone and stand up to its own values and morals.
Right.
The reason was I know some of you watched Ezra Miller's performance in The Flash. The reason why it didn't do as well as it did, Ezra Miller is a living proof of a disaster.
Mm.
Right. Right.
And now we
So,
have the same thing with Aquaman, where we've got a woman who's been proven to be the abuser in a relationship, and they still gave her a job after they fired the
Mm.
man she abused.
I just don't know
True.
why is WB? Why are all of these studios like just a quick shout out to Recast T'Challa Studios? Do not be afraid of recasting.
Yeah.
People are
yeah.
grown.
I mean, I
If
don't
Amber
know.
Heard, if they changed
So,
Amber Heard tomorrow, who would really complain?
Yeah, who would
so
really?
I just want to say that we are basically voting with our money
Mm.
because we
Yeah.
really are invested in, and it's weird. We are actually invested in the personal lives of the actors, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
And we
I'm
are
not.
also now invested in good story, right? So when
Mm.
we see the lack of good story,
Yeah.
we're rather deciding not to
Um.
go.
And
My
also, I think
cousin.
audiences don't want to be in a cash cow. They know what you
Yeah.
know when the studio is writing you for your money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like you
so
know
the
when something is an
idiots.
obvious cash cow. Like I
Because
Right,
know,
we
like
trust you less and
I
less.
don't need to go watch Aquaman. There's nothing here. There's
Mm.
nothing. It's
right.
a nothing burger. and I'm not gonna
Yeah.
give my money to
Yeah.
nothing.
Someone mentioned that it's a Black Widow all over. Like, why are we watching this? Black Widow was already dead, and you're already seeing a
Yeah.
movie later.
And
It's the same
Yeah.
thing with
Star Wars
Aquaman. It's
has
like,
that huge problem because now if you make a movie where Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, and the team are trying to take down Thrawn, I already know the events of the next sequel trilogy. So
right.
what are the stakes? Why would I pay
So
Yes.
to go
they've
watch?
they've technically already won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, getting
And
back to Mandalorian, I think again, like I think that stuff is kind of fine if you find another way to get your audience invested, because the planet of Mandalore and like how Mandalorian royalty and all of that stuff works, and the fact that the Mandalorian could have been king of the Mandalorians or whatever because of the dark saber, that stuff was cool in my head. I took a couple of days to even try and find out how that whole species works and all of that stuff, and Jin Djarin and everything and the timeline. And then they just veered left from that stuff, from what I hear, and it was just like you had something there.
they
So
resolved the tension between the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan too quickly.
yeah,
That whole
too
because he had
quickly.
the saber, and she had to win it in battle, and then loophole
yeah, they
dumb.
loopholed it. She accepted the loophole. I would have preferred it if they, like what the Forger did, where she like, you know what, if you respect my station, you'll take off your helmet because you don't really believe in what I believe in.
Mm.
I would have liked to have that moment where they also came to a realization that we shouldn't cling to traditions if they're designed to hold us back.
Mm.
But at the same time, I do know Disney wants a win. So I'm
Yeah.
expecting a CGI Luke. I'm expecting a CGI Han Solo.
No, no,
I'm expecting a
It's not,
CGI
but it's
Leia.
not gonna work. Like it
They'll
already.
try.
No, but
oh
But
no,
one
no,
thing,
no. I'm
but we
pretty.
don't, but we don't care.
I'm pretty confident it might work because look at how the fans are reacting to this particular episode right now.
No, but like the CGI thing, you gotta remember, people were very uncomfortable seeing Grand Moff talking again. That was a big like people were like, "What are we doing here?"
That was weird.
And they got away with it because it's simply a cameo. It's not like an extended scene or whatever. The Luke thing, a lot of people did have
Didn't
issues
like
with
it,
it.
yeah.
I mean, like, remember when he was moving and chopping up robots, that was fine because we're not sitting with him having a conversation. But you see him with Grogu and you just see that the face is robotic and you're just
Weird.
like, what is happening
But
here?
Yeah.
And
same thing happened with the Flash movie. They showed us Christopher Reeve, and people were up in arms. I
so
didn't like it.
that's not gonna, and already AI is getting a bad rap. You saw what happened with Secret Invasion, and
Right.
there's the writer strike on top of that. It'll be a moral conundrum, and
But
Disney and them don't need a image problem right now. They
But this
really
is the
don't.
problem. The plan, I feel like, is in motion already,
yeah,
regardless.
it's like watching, like watching the snowball tumble down the mountain and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Is no one telling them
Phenomenal.
they're not making money? Like no one is telling them
Yeah.
that this is not working.
The, the fact that it's already done and they're getting the feedback only now shows how far behind they are. There are many moments always think, but there's no one in the executive room who sat there and said, guys, this may be a very bad idea.
The thing is,
You know what?
if you pitched this idea a few years ago when Mandalorian was at its peak, it sounds like a good idea. Like imagine if you were
Right.
like back then, you were like, oh, we're gonna have Mando team up with Bo-Katan, team up with Ahsoka, maybe team up with Luke, and then they're gonna fight. Oh, we need a villain. Oh, Thrawn. We don't know. Like
Grand
it
Admiral
sounds
Thrawn.
like a
Right.
good
Yeah.
studio idea. The only problem
And
is
then we could make it into a game.
the problem is you've been fumbling the bag on all these projects that now
You
the steam
know,
for it is dead.
you know what I think the issue is. So when Disney Plus was created in 2020 or was launched in 2020, it was during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So that was a good strategy for them to have audiences still have Disney in the back of them and retain people, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously people are not going to the cinema. It made sense, and that's why there were. I guess you could say they were panicking. That's why some films that were out in theaters were then 3 months later on Disney Plus. It made sense because of the pandemic. But now that the pandemic is over, you cannot still use the same strategy because a lot of people are flocking out and now they're going to the theaters. So you cannot just be behaving as if all of us are still cooped up in our homes. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
that is
say
the
the problem
problem.
is bad writing. I wouldn't even say it's the
Yeah.
model. I don't think the model is terrible because
But
like we're streaming a lot
Look,
nowadays.
but
I'm
the
saying
problem,
it's
but the bad writing is caused by the strategy because you're rushing these projects, you're rushing these
you're not
IPs,
giving them time to
you're not
develop.
giving them time to develop.
I would the thing is I would say is that if you have a solid plan because like the thing is with writing, right, and I'm as we all writers here or to some extent or whatever, you
Aye.
can turn out like if you have like for example my writing process is that I jot down all the story beats from beginning to end and I make sure I have the beginning insight nice and clear and the end insight nice and clear. I know where I want my characters to start, I know where I want my characters to end, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you have to say, I mean, of course, it's way too many shows. You need to reduce it to like at least maybe 4 shows a year, and like try and balance your IPs and give everybody a bit of work or whatever. Because like trying to run Disney Plus on Star Wars and MCU alone, you're gonna tire out your audience.
Dude.
But if you have three tight shows, right? Like let's say like 2024, they only releasing three Star Wars shows and that's it. And these shows are
Yes.
supposed to be connected.
Mm.
And then in those projects, you write these characters such that their journeys will converge somewhere. And then you make sure that the story is solid and you lead that into a movie, into a trilogy, even if you want to spin it out that way.
Mm.
I feel like that's a way better like the amount is excessive, but also it's the writing is lazy. I don't feel like
Mm.
people have enough too much of a good thing. I
Yeah.
don't think that like exists in media. If something is consistently good, I don't think it
We-
hurts the model.
And there
But
are
these
examples
shows have
of
just
that.
been mid, like they
There are
have
examples
been
of that
boring.
because look at the height of the sitcom era. There were 7, 8, 9 seasons of
Big
Frasier,
Bang,
of
Friends,
Friends, of
Seinfeld,
Will and Grace.
right,
Good writing. It was evident from 8 seasons. So
right.
it's so people come back to something that's written well. If heck, people come back to something even if it's not that well written, but it's well produced in some cases. I'm looking at you, the bold and the beautiful fans, and
Yeah.
you, Days of Our Lives, and you, Young and the
Generations.
But
Restless.
also the other thing is like that stuff is so bad, it's also hilarious.
Mm.
So
Exactly.
like
And,
and and
and,
and whoever's writing that stuff, the actors have like passion for whatever's happening there.
and,
So I feel like that's the thing. These things are passionless. It feels like
yeah,
everybody's
there
just
you go.
But if
There you
checking
this
off.
go.
fails, I do
Hence,
see a potential. Sorry to cut you.
yeah.
If this fails, I do see potential of Star Wars being in hiatus. Because think of it. Here's the scenario, right? Bob Iger returned as CEO of the bigger company of Disney, and he said we're spending way too much money on Disney Plus. The subscribers are not making the amount of money we need for this thing
Right.
to actually make returns, and we're spending millions and millions on these shows, and we're not getting return. So he said,
Yes.
"I want things to go back to cinema because cinema
Yes.
is alive and cinema makes money."
Yes.
And now, if Star Wars doesn't make money on cinema, I feel like Star Wars is gonna take a hiatus. And
And he did say that he wants creativity to be at the forefront
yeah, if
Um,
of
this bombs, Star Wars is probably gonna go into another 5 year hiatus and then soft reboot Nyana with Ray and whatever goes forward.
don't reboot anything. Just let Star Wars die, guys. Like honestly.
guys,
It's
Star
not
Wars
going
was
to.
in hiatus for 20 plus odd years.
Yes.
Let's
For
not
good
Mm.
forget
reason.
that part.
For good reason.
There was a huge gap from the prequels to the
Well,
original
no, to be
trilogy.
fair, to
Mm.
be fair, there was a lot of
Yes.
content in there. There was a lot of content in
The
there.
comic books,
There was
yes,
comic
yes.
books, there was
Yes.
cartoons, there was
Mm.
Right.
Rebels.
Yeah,
Books.
I feel like if they go down that route, maybe it will be better and they start going into because remember there was also stuff like Star Wars Visions. If somebody pulled like an episode from Star Wars Visions and started going into some of that stuff, because some of that stuff was hella interesting, like the samurai that protected the village, but he was also a Sith. I
Yeah, that
would
was
have
cool.
loved to see stuff like that. What was that other episode? Oh, there was the other episode where the guy and his sister, like he becomes a Jedi because he sees that the dark side is having a negative effect on his sister and all of
Mm.
that stuff.
Mm.
That episode with that robot that is going around populating planets. Like again, the genius of Star Wars is that it's not something that has to happen in this small corner. The
Right.
problem
Yeah.
is that the people who are taking this IP are thinking way too small. Like they're just thinking about these particular scenarios. It has to be tied to the old republic, which I mean the old republic is cool, but like they always have to keep going backwards. They never go
Mm.
forwards.
Yeah.
And here's the other problem. Look, we can argue about the bad writing and everything. Is that they also have my issue with the Star Wars and what they're doing right now is that they have an abundance of decent and beautifully written source material.
Yes.
Yeah. It's too late.
So
now.
it's not a lack of creativity, it's a lack of effort.
I hear you. I mean, at least we all agree on that.
But
Yeah,
look,
we
Writing,
all
guys, I
agree.
think
And
writing,
funny, I thought
it's
I thought
over.
we were going to have an argument about this, but it seems like we are all agreeing. We are all agreeing
Yeah.
with this.
you know what I think is
But to
happening. I think
conclude, yeah, okay,
okay, sorry. I think the writers' rooms, ne? The writers in those writers' rooms were frustrated for the most part. Not with just Star Wars, with MCU, with DC, with almost all the projects. They were so frustrated because I'm sure
yeah, yeah.
the ideas were rejected, and they were forced to do things
Mm.
that they didn't even
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah, no,
Star Wars
and
has fired the
let me
most
just
creators. You're right. Yeah.
my cousin once said it because he said he saw a post or something. He's yet to send me the link. I'll ask him again. But he's saying that American audiences are sick and tired of the quote unquote hero's journey trope that
Right.
is being implemented over and over and over and over and over again in Western media. Then they're now beginning to look at other sources where there are different types the different types of writing methods that are being implemented. That's
That's why Rick and Morty worked so well because
The trope is not the problem though.
yeah.
Dan Harmon's story circle was different, and I think that's why his hero journey thing was so different. Like it was completely different. Random stuff happens in Rick and Morty, and it carries the story forward. So you didn't really know what to expect in Rick and Morty, and I think that's why it worked for the most part. But this whole hero's journey thing, he's right. The cousin is right. Like it's done to death. Like
I completely disagree. That
No,
is sorry. Now it's time for me to fight. That is
Yeah,
Thank you.
Let's
I guess at
How
Civil
do I?
War we're split right down the middle.
Exactly.
yeah.
one highest grossing movie of the year is what? Barbie. That is a classic hero's journey to the T. The second one is Super Mario Brothers. Classic hero's journey down to the T. What was the third?
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer is the same one. Sure, it breaks up non-linear because it's Christopher Nolan, but it's still classic hero's journey. I mean, if we look at anime, all the things that we consume, it's just the hero's journey. And I mean, even Rick and Morty, yes, it's not copy-paste hero's journey, but it's a condensed version of it because we still see growth. It still hits the beats. You still have Rick going on a journey. He still learns something. It's just that character development is where Rick and Morty does a spin. But in terms of everything else, it's the hero's journey. Hero's journey is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. You can try and break convention, and sure, go ahead if you want to make a nice artsy movie that's at Cinema Nouveau. But people who want to pay and watch,
We're also looking at
watch
you,
Hero's Journey.
Moonlight.
But
Yeah.
you know what? I think what Tebello's cousin might be saying, and I could be wrong. Maybe the cousin might watch this and be like, "Dude, that's not what I meant." I
Yeah.
think that what they're basically saying is, yes, you can do the hero's journey, but don't give us the same stuff that we've been seeing all over like the whole time. I don't know if I'm making sense. Like,
No,
let me give an
I mean,
example. Let me give an example.
Yeah,
man.
okay.
Let me give an example. One of the reasons why Scott Pilgrim worked so well, right, is this guy's just fighting evil exes, right? Like that's different. His uncle was not killed. There was no with great power comes great response. No, this guy just had to kill. Just had to kill his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, his girlfriend's exes. That's it, right? So it's like even though it's a hero's journey, you didn't get the same old. I have to meet up with this person. My uncle died. I have to live up. Like I don't know if I'm making sense. The same tropes that we used to get
I
all
think
along are tired.
I think what he was. I can't speak for the person that made the comment, but what
Yes, we
I'm
shall.
thinking is they just don't like. They just want different window dressing for the hero's journey. Because I think they still like
Yes.
hero's journey, but maybe they're
Yeah,
saying I would like more creative world building to blind the
yeah.
hero's
I
journey.
think
That's
I
what
would
I'm.
like
that's
That's what I'm
more
saying.
interesting
because
because you
one of
can't
the
break the hero's journey.
as much as people love Barbie, the somebody made a comparison between Barbie and Black Panther, and it looks exactly identical.
It's the same movie.
Aquaman and Black Panther is the same thing. Though.
It's
And
all of
then
them.
if
They're all Lion
if you
King.
take if you take Black Panther and you compare it to Avatar, basically the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, so what I'm saying though is like the difference is like that's the problem with tropes. I think what people misunderstand about tropes because tropes are necessary. You need something recognizable, especially if you're trying to make a franchise. You need something that people are going to say, "I understand what that is. Let me go with that." But the issue is that if you do not make the characters worth something, if you don't make the
Yeah,
characters have some sort of weight to them, it
100.
yeah,
doesn't even matter. Like one of the strongest things about anime is I forgot what they call it, shoku. I forgot what the term
Yes.
is. Right?
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Basically, it's character before story because
Yes.
good writers know that it doesn't matter what scenario you come up with. If you don't have characters, you don't
Mm.
have a story.
Look
And
at
I
Batman.
think and I think the trope problem here is that either formulas or studio execs or whatever, they're looking at stuff that worked in the past, but they're not
Yes.
analyzing why it worked.
Mm.
What they're doing
Right.
is they're seeing
Right.
they're seeing the surface level of what happened. Okay,
Right.
hero goes here, hero loses a family member, hero does this, yada yada
Yes.
yada, and boom, then we have
And
a movie.
and
But
on that note, that's a nice way to segue to jump into the main issue of the topic because